you're representing him, and now you're working on a professional career as well, right at the point where he's about to come back.
Exactly.
Wow.
And the agent, I mean, you just took a test.
Yep.
Take a test, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you become an agent. You said that he doesn't get an extension, right? So now he's a free agent at that point in time. So
he had 1 more year on his contract, which was an option year.
Yeah.
He played that year?
That would have been the 22-23 was his option year.
Yeah.
Oh.
So he took the option. He played.
And then
But-
was traded.
Traded to Dallas.
That
But
was-
during,
he got traded midseason?
yeah, he got traded. But so as that process is happening, that's on the court. But Nike, I mean, this is the premier athlete, like we went over. There's obviously Jordan and Jordan Brand.
Yeah.
And then it's Kobe.
Yeah.
And then it's like LeBron, Kai, and KD. What are those conversations like? Because this is one of their premier athletes. This is Uncle Drew. This is a top-selling shoe. Kids love it.
His shoes were still selling.
At the same time.
His shoes were still selling. We were in conversations. Well, we hadn't really started at that point about what the next steps would be, if he was going to remain a signature athlete or not, in what way they wanted to continue that. We hadn't even started that yet. His shoes were...
So they're fully on board. We're already...
I wouldn't say they were fully on board. I think that internally, like within every company, everybody had issues with. There were people that were, I'm pro-vaccination, and people that were, I'm anti-vaccination. And so I think that probably within, and I don't know this to be true, within those Nike walls, there were people that said, hey, you're forcing me to get vaccinated, but you have a signature athlete that isn't vaccinated. What kind of messaging is that sending? So I'm sure, everybody, it was a difficult time for every company, just having the conversation about vaccine versus non-vaccination.
So he makes it through that, and now he's playing for the Nets, and then something else happens. So he shares a link to a documentary, and that causes another firestorm, and he gets suspended indefinitely. And okay, so now NBA punishing him, Brooklyn Nets punishing him, but now the Nike situation starts to unravel because now Nike at some point steps away from him, right? Was he up for a new contract, or did they just terminate the current contract?
He was up for new.
He was up for a new contract. It just so happened that timing was at the same time.
Timing was at the same time.
So they didn't technically terminate him. They just didn't renew. They did nothing
Essentially, yeah.
to extend that contract.
Yeah, essentially.
How was that? That was another obviously very high profile news story. How was that for you and for him going through that?
I think what he wanted, and perhaps what he would have wanted from Nike, I don't know if Nike would have been able to give it to him, because he wanted a lot more creative control. He wanted a lot more equity. He wanted higher commission. Like there were things that he wanted that I honestly think that just was not within Nike's ecosystem to provide or to give.
So regardless of if the situation, Nike still might have been home for you guys anyway.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think he tweeted and said that he didn't like the shoe that they had put out.
It was it the 9?
The 8s.
8s?
Yeah.
Okay.
But how was from getting suspended, how was that dealing? Once again, now you got to deal with the Brooklyn Nets, you got to deal with the NBA. He had to go meet with the commissioner and a bunch of other stuff, community service and different things of that nature. Like, how was that? Because he just went through something previously with COVID. Now he's going through something completely different, but another thing less than a year later. So how was that for you guys going through that?
Difficult. It was a very, very difficult moment. And I think that to really delve into that detail, I would want him to be here to really talk it through, because there were so many nuances there that I think when you really hear the real story behind it, it'll make your jaw drop.
You have probably one of the most intensifying first years on the job.
Very much so.
Maybe ever, right? You
Very
talking
much
about
so.
the shoe contract negotiation, NBA contract negotiation, suspensions, world pandemics, like all that's happening in your first year. So we're at the point where, we're looking at from a financial standpoint and some of the things that you want from a shoe deal. It's not going to happen, perhaps at Nike. Are other shoe companies reaching out and offering, because I know where we land and we'll get to that, but are other shoe companies reaching out and saying, this is a prize free agent from an athletic endorsement standpoint, we should go ahead and try to sign them?
Initially, we wanted to go independent.
Okay.
And we had a lot of conversations with being a real independent shoe brand. And I sort of made the decision collectively with his dad that probably wasn't the best route, because building a shoe and building a performance shoe on the court where his feet are your most valuable asset was something that we were just really worried about from just being an independent brand, just having all of the resources, the tools, and everything to make sure that his feet were protected. We want him to have a very long career. And so we didn't want to jump out and say, hey, we're going to do this independent. And we produce a shoe that just couldn't stand.
Did you ever look at the Big Baller brand and what happened with that as something
that
like...
was a case study.
As you were saying, that's what I'm thinking.
That was a case study.
Yeah.
Because, they said, I don't know if it's true or not, but shout out to Lonzo, he came to InvestFest, but they say one of the reasons why he's hurt is because of the shoe. I don't know if that's true.
It broke down.
I don't know. And, I think that when you think about performance and the way he moves and the angles in which he moves on the court, and remember I talked about, you research and you study, being independent and just basically producing a shoe that can achieve that mechanism was something that we all were really concerned about. There's some things that you can kind of build the plane while flying it. This wasn't one of them. Yeah. And this was one of them that we just didn't want to take that chance on. And that's just being honest.
So you end up with at Aetna, right?
Say it one more time.
Is it Aetna?
No, Anta.
Anta, I'm sorry. Anta. And so this is interesting because this is now, I'm looking at this as a global play, right? Like they have at the time, Dwayne Wade was there.
No, he's with Ling Ming.
Ling Ming, oh.
Ling Ming, yeah.
Who's that?
Klay Thompson.
Klay Thompson, that's what it was. Are you watching how he's structuring his deal and looking, is this is completely independent? We want to have a global brand. This is a company that I think we can partner with?
Yeah, so we took the time to kind of figure out what did we really want in a shoe deal. So before we even, when it was Nike was done, it was like, what's important? So it was creativity, it was price point, quality products, a host of other things. And so when we started to have the conversations with Anta and a few other companies, it was really about us creating our own contract, because we didn't want something that was really a traditional contract where it was like you just get royalties and you get a base commission and you walk away. We wanted something that had a lot more ownership for us, because we knew that once we put Kai in the lab, we knew what he was going to create at the end of the day. We wanted something that gave us real equity, that gave us a real opportunity to control the narrative and do something really different. We wanted something that was international. And we wanted something that we could also use as a springboard. So we knew that in China, his shoes were very successful.
Yeah.
So it just made sense, right? When we looked at, if we thought about what part of the world were his number one sales, it was China. So we immediately kind of stood there and said, what can we build here and expand? Yeah.